Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kay Doran, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome everyone back to Inner Voice of Knowing. I'm really thrilled, as I am with every guest, to introduce them. So let me just sort of dive into a little bit of her background so you've got a little bit of an introduction. So today I'm joined by Imogen Van Haagen, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, co-founder of CEO of Mud Organics, a wellness skincare brand devoted to helping women feel confident. And after building a successful global career, Imogen returned to Australia following a personal health scare that led her deep into the world of nutrition, women's health and mindset. She went on to found 20 Fit Australia, which she built and later sold in 2023, and now leads Mud Organics, a predominantly female-run company centred on education, community and empowering women to feel well in their own bodies. And she's also a woman who, from my own personal experience, truly walks her talk. Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing, Imogen.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
It's been a while in the making, but you know what? Always by divine appointment. And we met connected probably over a year ago now, because I reached out to you to let you know that I'd walked the Camino. And for those that don't know, it's a spiritual pilgrimage and it's over 800 kilometres across the Pyrenees and across Spain. And I'm all about looking as good as I can, you know, maintaining my skin. I've been like that since I was a little kid. And I came across your product, Mud, and for some reason was so drawn to it, had purchased some and realised that, you know, you've got to carry bare minimum. And so a small bottle of that I took with me. I think I took a toner and an eye cream, and my skin was beautiful. And then I also realised you're equally as beautiful, Imogen, inside and out, because your response to me and since the conversations that we've had have been gorgeous. And I really wanted to have you on to share the amazing woman that you are, the team that you've got with you, what you're doing, and more so than even that, your big why. So should we sort of start with, where did all this come from, Imogen?
Where do we start? Where with Mud Organics, or just, you know, my journey?
Let's go with what sort of led you to that destination of Mud Organics, because clearly you're a highly accomplished woman.
Well, I'm going to actually start all the way back to when I was little and 14 years old, and that's kind of where my journey started. I am the only girl of 8 boys.
Wow.
From batch 2. We also have batch 1, and there's 3 girls and 1 boy, but I actually didn't meet my sisters until I was 27 years old. Okay. So I always grew up surrounded by men and boys. And so I actually, have quite a masculine, or had quite a masculine demeanor, and that has absolutely helped me to get to where I am today. But in a very traditional Christian household, I wasn't allowed to sleep over friends' houses who if their parents weren't religious, for example. So it was quite a challenging upbringing. I also went to 5 different high schools before the age of 14 years old, and lived in every state in Australia, and in over 30 houses before I actually left home at the age of 14.
14 is very young to leave.
Yeah.
And why was the reason for moving around so much?
My parents were just, they went with the flow, and they were Christian hippies. And one day they would say, "Look, guys, we're moving over east. Chuck everybody in the back of a van. and no seatbelts back in those days, just a
No.
mattress and a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And off the Cross-the-Nullarbor we went. Yeah, but as you can imagine, growing up in that kind of environment, I really was seeking stability for
Yeah.
my life, and I didn't know what that felt like at that time. My oldest brother lived in Brisbane, so one day when I was about to make some very poor choices for my life, I called him and I said, "Look, I'm either going to be drinking goon in the park with a bunch of my friends, or let me come and move in with you, please. And I'll get a couple of jobs and I'll put myself through high school. And I won't be the headache that you might think I will be at 14." And
Wow.
so I did
Putting
that.
yourself through high school, getting jobs, to do school, you must have really valued education, because to sort
Yeah.
of be faced by two such extreme choices, what was it in you that made you choose, you could call it the high path, the path that's like, no, 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 I'm going to keep going on the trajectory of doing something worthwhile for myself.
Yeah. Look, I was homeschooled until I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I also was a bunch of my brothers. And I think, I really wanted to create something special for my life. And I knew that there was something special in order, but I didn't necessarily have parents who believed that, because I didn't believe in their religion. And that was where the
Yeah.
clash came from. And so, it didn't really matter what you did in their eyes. If I wasn't believing, then that was it. And I really, at a young age, got to finally, when I left home, actually start making my own choices. And mind you, I got my first job when I was 13 and 9 months. I was working at Red Rooster and Domino's at the same time. Well, I
Wow.
was like, I need some cash in the bank to be able to do things, because we weren't wealthy at all.
Yeah.
Living mostly off Centrelink and social benefits, and just to kind of get by. And look, I do not ever regret any of that, because it's taught me so much. And what I said to you in the beginning, living in those 30 different houses, going to all those different high schools, I really cherish now, looking back and go, you know what, that actually turned me into a chameleon. I actually have the ability now to adapt in a social
Yeah.
environment, to get into someone else's world, even if I don't necessarily agree with them, to really just get on other people's levels. And it really is no effort for me. It just comes from within.
Yes. So is it like a fluidity? Do you know what I
It
mean?
is
Because you're
like,
having to move
yeah,
around. And I love this conversation because it also shows the natural lenses that you look through in life. Because you could have someone else going through that experience feeling really resentful, making different choices. What do you think it is inside of you, Imogen, that got you looking through those lenses? Is it just how you were born? Is there something else driving you?
I really think, I believe that, if you look at you always look at your parents, right? And you go, I'm
Yeah.
either going to do exactly what they're going to do or the complete opposite. And all of my siblings and we've all gone that direction. And funnily enough, we're all successful entrepreneurs now.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think, I really just felt that I didn't know it back then, but I just felt that there was something bigger in store for me in this life. And, not put into a box, but really, I've always been a spontaneous person. And that phone call that I made to my brother, I'm so grateful that he took me in and said, okay, well, you've got to pay your way, and you've got to and work hard at it. And so I went over and I did. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And it's like
Yeah.
it's a training ground for entrepreneurship, because so many people want to be entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
leave the 9 to 5, and entrepreneurship somehow is so much easier, but it comes with its own challenges.
It really does. And, like I went on to go through high school, and then I got to the end of high school, and my brother actually, unfortunately, but there's only 18 months between us. He had a motorbike accident, and he was in a coma for 3 months, and he had to learn how to walk and talk and
Yeah.
everything all over again. We were first told that he wasn't going to survive, and then he did. But his really rehabilitation program was back in Perth. So, and I wanted to be with him. So I came back to Perth, and when I was 18 years old, I remember this so, kind of explicitly because as I'm talking now, I come across very confident, and I am.
Yeah.
But back then, there was, this insecurity that I had within myself that, I'm not good enough because, I wasn't that person who my parents wanted me to be. Or, like there was always this story and this belief system that I had for myself. And one of my brothers actually introduced me to this self-development program. And I've never done any self-development before. And I remember going, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like I'm back in Perth. I don't know what's next for my life. I kind of just thought like at that stage I was going to be an administrative assistant, or I
How
don't
old
know.
were you at this point in time, Imogen?
I was 18.
Oh,
I was
okay. That's
18.
quite young to go. Yeah, yeah. I'll jump into something a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was a 3-day course, 3 full days with 100 people, 100 other people. And
Yeah.
to go into this space and then immerse yourself. And I just remember thinking to myself, I went in actually such a small person, even though what I had already achieved was quite big for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
saw myself as a really small person.
Yeah.
And I came out, and it was almost like the fog had been taken off my eyes. I'd broken down a lot of the belief patterns. I'd called my parents and said, hey, I forgive you guys, I don't need anything back from
Oh,
you.
chills.
This is just, me sharing, like, thank you for everything that you've
Yes.
done for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that really took off a couple of layers of the onion for me to really then go, okay, I actually can do anything I want for myself for my life. And the next day, I booked a one-way ticket to Amsterdam. And at the age of 19, I know, total
Yes.
left hook. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go traveling for a year. And so I booked a one-way ticket to Amsterdam. And 3 months before I left, I actually met this beautiful, tall, handsome Dutch man at a wedding. It was serendipity because we were paired as number 3 in the bridal party. And
Ah.
yeah, and he was from Amsterdam. And he gave this speech at the wedding, and I remember it so clearly. He just left a relationship. His partner was supposed to come with him, and he found out that she was doing some things with somebody else on the side.
Yeah.
He came
Yeah.
brokenhearted, right, to this
Yeah.
wedding. He was absolutely 7-year relationship, brokenhearted. And he was able to give this speech at the wedding that was about love and communication, and so authentically and deeply. And I just remember thinking every single woman sitting here is going to want to marry that guy.
Chill shouting it
Yeah,
over me. Wow.
I know. And then I was like, I'm going to marry him one day. And
You said that to
then
yourself.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I actually, chased him down at this wedding. And, we connected straight away.
Yeah.
And anyway, 3 months later, I was in Amsterdam, and we had 3 months of calling each other. He would wake me up, I would wake him up. And then I got there, and he had a couple of keys in his hand at the airport, and he said, "Look, I found an apartment for us, and shall we move into it together?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do this."
What a love
And
story.
yeah, well, look, we're almost 17 years together now, and 11 married, going on
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
But that's where, that's kind of where it all started. And when I moved to Amsterdam, he said to me, he's like, "What are you going to do here?" I was like, "I don't know." And, we're sitting on a terrace, and I saw this group of tourists walking past with this tour guide. And I was like, "I reckon I could do that." And it was, one of these free walking tours that you have to kind of, entertain people for 3 hours to get paid. you're not on a wage or anything. You're just hoping for the
And
best
no
at the end of it.
Amsterdam. And no Amsterdam.
Yeah. And no Amsterdam. So I actually learned this 3-hour historical walking tour
Yeah.
out of like just by my head. You're not allowed to take anything with you and flick through pages,
Yeah.
And I did that for a fair few months. And there were some days that people didn't give any donations, and then there were some days that you'd make bank,
Yeah.
just depending on the weather, really. Until it became winter, and then I was like, okay, winter is setting in. I am not built for this. Let me have a think about what I'm going to do from here.
Yeah.
And I got this job in recruitment as a recruitment assistant. And the company said to me, look, Imogen, we're really looking for someone who speaks fluent Dutch. And I said, guys, if you give me this job, I promise you, I will be fluent in 6 months. I promise you. And so it was a big call on my part.
I'm just thinking, sorry to stop you there, Imogen, but I'm just thinking, and I stop you because people listening might be thinking the same as me.
Yeah.
You've gone from, oh, I'm going to go do this program because, I don't feel great about myself, telling yourself the stories that everyone has moments of telling themselves, to just completely breaking free, forgiving your parents, just taking these leaps of faith in yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and to learn a language and don't say, well, I'll give it my best. You're just throwing it down there like the gauntlet going, no, give it to me and I'll have this done.
Yeah, that's, and that was the only way I was going to get the job. And if you know me, I'm a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
And also integrity is, and that's one thing that I learned about myself, when you grow up with people who are constantly breaking their word, you really seek within yourself integrity and to do what's expected when nobody's looking, to follow through on your word, to hold yourself accountable. So they hired me. And I was terrified. I was like, oh, God, now I actually have to go and learn Dutch. So I found a private tutor and I went twice a week to him for 4 hours in total. And then after my second week of starting out that job, they said to me, oh, the reason why we need you to learn Dutch is because you need to understand Dutch labour rights. And so you're going to have to do this study at the University of Amsterdam in Dutch, a legal study. And I was like, okay, all right, well, this is what we're doing now. Okay, great. But I'm very proud of
told me that before you hired me. Yeah.
Yeah. I am very proud of the fact that I actually did my exams with 3 native Dutch colleagues of mine, all from around the Netherlands. And I was the only one to pass the exam on the first go, just by the, just. But I did it.
Forget the just. You did.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And look, that just, it really, was these steps that I was taking that it's almost like building blocks of confidence and more confidence. And you can actually do this. You really have this inside you and no one is doing this for you.
Yeah.
And I ended up, going on to have work there for a couple of years. And then I got headhunted by this British firm for geographical locations, big company. And started as a recruitment assistant and then quickly got promoted because, what I realized was, we're talking about being a chameleon before, how good I was at reading people and getting into people's worlds and asking questions and quietening that little voice in my head to really listen to understand, not listen to respond. And that was a skill that I learned early on in life.
Yeah.
And at the age of 20.
Do you think you always had it? Does it feel like it's a natural part of a gift that you nurtured?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because I was always good at, adapting and being there for people. And, I also, I've got a very helpful nature. So I do think it was always there. But it's just, getting stronger and stronger because I'm leading my path that it's developing those skills even further.
Yeah.
And then at the age of 23, I was the youngest person on the management team, leadership team. I was managing a team across Singapore, Germany, the Netherlands, and Manchester. and was the top biller 3 years running out of 100 people. And what that role taught me was so many things about myself.
Mm.
A, who I was and could be for people, because the people who I was headhunting, Kay,
Yeah.
I'm talking about, Shell in the Netherlands is looking for a CEO in Abu Dhabi, and I would have to call through the switchboard, pretend to be somebody, and then finally get through to the CEO through all the gatekeepers, and then convince him that the job that I had would be much better for him and his family, and to relocate his entire family over to Abu Dhabi.
All at
That
the
was
age of 23.
at the age of 23. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember having a fair few trips over to, I used to travel a lot for that role. And I'm going to get into this is the kind of the pivotal turning point for me.
Yeah.
But going to Abu Dhabi and Dubai and standing in front of, Arabic professionals, and you know what it's like over there, men versus women. You can imagine a 23, 24-year-old girl walking in and then telling you what it is that you need to do, and that I'm the right person to help you find this guy who's going to be on $1 million a year, and they wouldn't even shake my hand, Kay, because that's just a thing over there. So they make you feel very small when you come in. But because of the innate belief I had within myself, I never, ever let that get on me, ever. And I couldn't tell you how and why, but I just believed so deeply in what I was capable of, and still do. And I think that is in itself an absolute superpower.
Did you feel absolutely? I
Mm.
just, because of the way that I am with energy, I can almost see the tapestry throughout your childhood in all the preparation, the shifting of environments, the whole thing. It feels really, really fluid.
Yeah.
And then that moment, of that, what I would feels like that crossover point of saying to go to your brother, that opportunity to do some personal development at an age where a lot of 18-year-olds aren't thinking about that. They're thinking about the next
No.
party they can go to, or,
Yeah.
is the uni bar open? I'm going to
Yeah.
take that one from one of my daughters. But is this what you were feeling like? Did you feel like from when you were younger and you said, I knew I was here for something,
Yeah.
did you feel like this was the something or part of the something that you'd been feeling?
Yeah, I think so. And more, I really had to discover within myself first
Yeah.
this self-belief and this self-confidence that I could actually do anything I wanted in this world,
Yeah.
and nothing was too big. And I didn't necessarily know this at that point either, but it was developing, and it was growing. And now I'm able to be like that for other people and other women
Yeah.
and other just people in life who do have self-doubt, because there is so much out there, through storytelling and through sharing. And I've
Yeah.
had this conversation before,
Yeah.
and that can inspire people in an instance. um
And the
However,
belief that you held
sorry,
about yourself, the belief that you held about yourself was so certain, right?
it
And I'm
was,
always saying it's about certainty and knowing that
yeah,
that's what you were experiencing.
I just knew. I just
Yeah.
knew that,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's what
that,
was coming to you from you,
mm,
is the way
from
that I would
me.
probably put it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say, and this moves on to the next chapter of kind of your initial question. It's a very long answer.
No,
Um,
it's great.
but I was working 60 hours a week in this job, burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
You go on it was very much a work hard, play hard kind of environment. I was winning every single 4 trips a year. I was winning every single trip, going to Vegas 5-star, Marrakesh 5-star, Dubai twice, like just everywhere that you could think of in those 8 years that I was,
Yeah.
7 years that I was with that company. But the travel, the hours, it really did start to take a toll on me. And
It's that doing, striving, and we think that's success, but there's something else missing because we burn out.
Yeah. And do you know what I feel was missing? That role really taught me, and I got what I needed from that. But I did
Mm,
get to a point that I was missing more purpose. And
okay.
why am I actually doing this? What's the reason? I'm doing this for somebody else, but actually I'm burning myself out. And
Yeah.
I had a big health scare. I lost like 10 kilos in just a matter of a couple of weeks. I went to the doctor. Went through all of these tests at the hospital, and they couldn't find anything that was wrong with me. And the only thing that they found that was wrong with me was that I had an overactive thyroid, and they
Mhm.
said that that was stress induced. And their only recommendation was to actually change my lifestyle and what I was doing.
You must have been skin and bone
Yeah, I
because you're
was because
you're a lean woman. Yeah.
yeah, I was, and we thought the worst, right? That
Yeah.
as you do when you lose such a dramatic amount of weight in such a short period of time. Well,
Had
and
you had inclinations along the way? Because a lot of women will go, you know what, I sort of knew that this lifestyle or what I was doing couldn't sustain itself, but we don't listen to that part that's sort of, I call it the soul, that's like, you can't keep doing this, you can't keep doing this. Did you have that? Or you
no,
literally just hit that
I
wall and
no, I absolutely had that. But do you know what? I was also earning 500,000 euros a year at
yeah,
such a young age. And so that just masks every little voice that's trying to tell you this
yeah,
is not good for you. You're not making the right decisions right now because of all of the shiny objects.
yes,
And until I got to that point that, the doctor said to me, you need to change. And I knew I needed to change my
yeah,
lifestyle. I knew that within myself, but I wasn't doing it because of all of the shininess around me. And
yeah.
yeah. And then you know what? One dark December day, I was sitting across from my husband, who was then my husband.
Hmm.
And he looked really sick. And, I looked really, we hadn't seen the sunshine for about 3 months. And so why are we living here? And I said, I don't know. I'm from Perth. Why don't we go back there? He's like, yes, can we please? So he sold his business that he'd been building since I'd been there,
Yeah.
and basically packed everything into a sea container. And we took a year off. Took a year off, and we were going to go traveling for a year.
Mm.
And my first stop was in Thailand, and was to do one of these 10-day what detoxes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't eat for 10 days, Kay. There's no food. There's colonics twice a day. There's coffee colonics twice a day. All you get is a cup of broth in the morning, or carrot juice in the morning and a cup of broth in the evening. And but I
That's
really,
severe because I've done
yeah,
a broth, nothing but a broth or a water for 7 days or so when I was younger, and I've also done a
yeah.
colonics, but I would not want to put the two together.
No, if you haven't met me, I'm a bit extreme when it comes to these things. You would know that, but I don't do things halves. And
Yeah, yeah,
I knew that I needed a significant reset for
yeah.
my life and to do something that was, really shape shifting. And the first 3 days, I was looking through my journal the other day actually, and my daughter was like, "Mum, did you draw all these pictures?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't believe how good a drawer it used to be."
Yeah.
Um, but it's all of food. So all I could think about was food the whole time. But once I
Can't eat it, so draw it.
yeah, so
Yeah,
draw it. But once I got over that, initial mental kind of blockage, I
yeah.
guess, I was really able to lean into what was happening within my body and doing yoga every day. And yeah, and that was it for me. And it was, and I was reading through that same journal the other day. It's so funny that I picked it up and now we're talking about it because I hadn't looked at it for, I don't know, 10 years,
Yeah,
8 years. Yeah.
yeah.
And yes, I was looking in there, and I remember writing down all of these um, you know ingredients to use in skincare, and I was really honing in on herbs and natural medicine, and just educating myself on
Mm.
it. And look, I was going to take a year off, and then it took me about 3 weeks before I started writing my next business plan. And And because I said to my husband, like I'm actually pretty bored with this. I don't really love just laying on the beach. I want to be, keep my mind busy. I like being busy with
Some
things.
people are listening going, she's crazy.
Yeah. 3 weeks, I think we're in.
Yeah.
And did traveled and did all of Thailand. And then we were like, I was like, I've never done Australia before. Like, let's go to Australia and do a full circle. And so we went came back to Perth, bought a rooftop tent, and did 16,000 Ks around Australia.
Nice.
And it was on that trip I fell pregnant with my daughter. And I get to back to Perth after those 16,000 kilometers. Pretty uncomfortable towards the end of it because I was like 7 months pregnant then.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, we probably need to find a house, an income, like, or get this business started because, we're kind of churning through our savings at that point. There was not one moment that I didn't think I can't get my shit together before she comes,
Yeah.
And I knew that we were going to sort it out. I was not panicking. Just, I knew it was going to happen. And started my first business, 20 Fit Australia, when I was 39 and a half weeks pregnant. Had her at 41.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and I remember
I've never heard anyone back themselves so significantly. And, any woman that's been pregnant or feeling heavily pregnant right now is going to go, that's the last thing I would want to do. Start a business.
I know, but look, if I think about it now, I'm like, I actually think I might be a little bit crazy.
Driven, I'd say.
Driven.
And
yeah.
feels like really highly creatively inspired as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then I had 20 Fit for 7 years. And it was into our 5th year of 20 Fit that COVID hit. And, amongst all of the things that got shut down, gyms were the first one. We had one in Nedlands and one in Vic Park.
Yeah.
And, really got, slammed with that. And I remember saying to Bob after the first lockdown, my husband, I said, okay, I need to find another way to earn some money because, we had to cancel all these memberships for people who didn't want to get vaccinated because that was a thing as well.
Yeah.
So I actually went on to, and I had already been studying nutrition and health coaching. And all of the customers or the clients that we had who were sitting at home and during that time, it was so uncertain and lots of people were moving to alcohol. Lots of people were moving to binge eating. They weren't able to move their bodies in the way that they normally would normally do. And so I did this. I completed my health coaching course and I started this coaching company called Balance Me. And we had this session the other day and now I want to rename it to Harmonize Me, but that's another conversation. But yeah, started Balance Me and then started coaching women from home just like this with, around emotional eating disorders and stress eating and then, the connection between gut and your gut health and mental health, because so many people experiencing anxiety at that time. And, not a lot of people think that, the food that passes through your lips can actually give you an anxiety attack or, the worst sleep you've ever had or impact give you an instant headache, things like that, or, slow down your digestive activity. So I was really coaching predominantly women. I had a few men in there as well, actually.
Yeah.
And that really it really took, my, I guess, how I see people and to a whole new level, to really be able to get into people's worlds. And like I was talking about before, I always kind of had this innate ability to quieten what was going on in here and sit and listen. But this really kind of took it to the next level. And I loved doing that so much. But then, when the world kind of started getting back to normal, I had to get back into 20 fit again, and we were like crawling out of a hole. So I was very owner operator, and then I was still working with clients from 20 fit, and started recommend. I always used to try products before I would recommend them to my clients. And so I was trying this one product called fulvic acid, and fulvic acid is essentially the richest soil in the world. And if you think about our soil here in Australia, it's so mineral deficient. And, most people are walking around with mineral deficiencies and they don't even know it. And we're seeing this, extreme. Cancer has never been at its all-time high, right? And so I started diving into, what this actually does, and our farming industry and mass production and, the agriculture industry, etc. And what people don't know is, when you walk around with deficiencies for such a long period of time, these can turn into mutations, and that's what can turn into chronic illness. And at that time, I had a number of people around me who were dealing with chronic health problems. And I thought, I actually want to take this to the next level now. I know that this is calling me. And so I didn't necessarily know how to do it. I was recommending it to then the clients who I was working with at 20 Fit. And there was a young girl who I met at the time. She was working for me at 20 Fit. She was a personal trainer. And I met her when she was 19 years old. And I remember she walked in, and she just had this kind of, she was slouching over, and you could tell that she had not a lot of confidence within herself. And I just sat in awe of her, thinking, there's some really big things in store for you, and I don't know what they are yet, but I really want to do life with you. I just knew that, So I hired her on the spot. I said, can you start tomorrow? I really love you, and I've never done this before. I'm normally going through like 3-4 interview stages until you get to a personality test in my old job. So
this is just following your knowing.
It is. Yes. It's just following that. And so I hired her, and she went on to work for me for quite a few years. And she was the one who came to me. She said, Imogen, all these women are raving about this fulvic acid product, how, their bloating has gone away. They're feeling like their hormones are balancing, that their gut health is improving, their digestive activity, and they've never slept better, and they've never had more spring in their step. And
I take fulvic acid. It's amazing. And then my husband takes it, and he loves it. He's even has things on his hands where he's had a lot of skin cancers and stuff like improve. And it's, incredible stuff. So when you said fulvic acid in one of our previous conversations, I'm like,
I know.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Courtney, she came to me and she said, hey, Emmy, like, I know that you're busy with this, but I've had a look online, and I can't actually see any companies in Australia who are selling this or doing it well. Do you want to go into business with me? And I was like, I was looking for something to do online, and, I knew that I had to do something with this, but I didn't know what yet. And the moment she said that, and I was like, 100%, let's do this. And so that is actually where the name Mud comes from, starting with our first very ingredient that we went on an R&D journey, to explore, looking for the best source around the world, which we found.
And the name Mud because of the fulvic acid?
Yeah, because it comes from soil. It's like, derived from peat bogs, mud, and we thought it was fitting. And we thought to ourselves, well, what's going to make us different? There are so many supplement brands out there. There are so many cosmetic brands. How about we look for products that you can ingest and apply to your skin that are 100% natural and organic? And when we were talking to this fulvic acid supplier over in Canada, he said to us, we explained to him what we wanted to do, and he said, look, there's this company in Hong Kong. They've got a farm in Tibet, and they produce this ingredient called sea buckthorn. And he said, and I'll tell you a story. There was a university lecturer. She was about 75 years old, and he'd met her a couple of years earlier. And he said to her, how is it that you look 40? And she said, well, do you know what? the only two ingredients I take every single day, and that's enough for me, is fulvic acid and sea buckthorn. And we were like, we're on the money. Let's do this. So
I had never heard of sea buckthorn before.
hadn't you?
No.
Either had I actually,
Yeah.
but I was new.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we contacted this company in Hong Kong, and they sent us over a bunch of samples. And one of the samples was the oil that you referred to that you took on your trip. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, at this time, my daughter, ever since she was born, she was getting eczema flare-ups from everything, from the chlorine in the water that she bathed in, to the detergent that we washed her clothes in, playing in sand, grass, you name it. And she was a real picker. So
Yeah.
she would scratch and itch, bacteria would get in, you'd get
Yeah.
school sores or infections, and then you have to use steroids. And I just got to a point, I was like, I don't feel good about this. This really doesn't feel good. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try this oil, and I'm reading up on it. Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And so I started using it on her. And at this time, she had some pretty severe flare-ups, and they started to calm down. And I was like, and we had tried everything, Kay.
Yeah.
Like, spent thousands on all the things, and the only thing that would make it go away were steroids. And yeah, she was 5 at that time. So I started using that on her, and then I was like, wow, this is actually repairing her skin. And then it started to go away. And I was like, well, if it can do that for eczema, what else can it do for the skin? And because you can ingest it and then apply it to your skin. And it was total accidental product. We were like, do you know what? Let's just stick it in a bottle and hope for the best when we launch the brand, kind of thing.
Wow.
And yeah. And we'd been through a lot of conversations with the manufacturer at this point. We'd even gone over there and discussed. We were talking about how it sits a little bit too surface on the skin, so we need to make it so that it absorbs better. But we wanted to make sure that we could maintain the integrity of all of the antioxidants and the omegas and the vitamin E and the vitamin C, that didn't get impacted during production. And we then developed a product together with them that is now 100% unique to ours. There are lots of sea buckthorn. Sea buckthorn's been used in the cosmetic industry for years and years as an added ingredient. But we were the first in Australia to actually use it in its 100% natural and organic form. And that was that. We went through about 6 months of setting the business up, getting the branding right, and then we were like, "Shit, how are we actually going to sell this?" Neither of us have online experience. And then we brought in
having a product that you don't know how you're going to move it. Yeah.
No, exactly. We knew we would, though, and we just went and started having conversations with people, and then brought our third business partner, Walter, on, who at the time had 10 years of e-com experience. And we pre-launched the brand with in December, and we had our first sales in February, the 2nd of February, 2022, and opened with this massive backlog of pre-orders, and we were waiting for packaging to arrive. Do you know what
I love about Imogen? You can read all the books and listen to all the people that go, don't wait till you're 100% ready. Just leap. And
just do it.
This is a prime example of that. Just leap. Just do it. You have a product, figure it out as you go along. What would have happened if you'd waited till you had everything in place? Maybe not everything would have fallen into place.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's in that movement that people and circumstance move towards us. It's a living example of it. I love it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you know what? It's the example of throw yourself in the deep end and learn how to swim. Guys, it's actually truth and real life. And you know what? We're human beings. We will always figure it out. Do you know what you need? Is just a little bit of belief in yourself that you will figure it out. Doesn't matter. You don't know how yet.
And the lessons will come along. So what were the lessons that you had to face in doing this launch and this leap? Because people will then suddenly go, yeah, but it worked out for Imogen. It worked out for the company Mud. So I think it's nice to also talk about, well, what were the hiccups or the challenges along the way?
So many, so many. And, we started the business with $60,000 in the bank account, 20
Yeah.
grand each.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well, we'll see how far this is going to get us. And we almost sold out of all of the product that we had in the first couple of weeks. And then now we need to, buy more. But then you don't have any cash to buy more because you need to buy 5 times more than you originally purchased.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, cash flow has always been a big issue in our business because that's just what happens with growth. And we made every single mistake in the book. Okay, every mistake that you can possibly think of. And particularly, like we grew really fast in our first year. In our second year, we grew almost 300%. And but also let it get to our heads a little bit. Like, we've got this figured out. We can do this. And but then quickly realize that, what comes with big global expansion comes bigger problems.
Yeah.
And I am just the person in the business where the problems just naturally fall on my desk because I'm like, okay, guys, there's no problem, there's no solutions here. So what can we do? How can we figure this out? And but in that third year, we really we made some poor choices. We handed all of our advertising over to an agency, and we went from being profitable every single month to having our first loss February, March, April, and then when you're already a cash flow tight business, you can't have too many losses back to back. Yeah. And that was one of the things. And then we had to just pull everything back and go, okay, let's bring it back in-house. What can we learn from this? And what do we need to do to continue to help women all around the world? Because we knew that we were getting tens of 5-star reviews and women just reaching out to us like yourself, sharing their stories and telling us how much how they have sensitive skin and they've tried everything. This is the first product that.
So is the drive for that to be of service, because that to me is what you're talking about, right? The care of, those that you can help with this. Do you think in part that's the thing that also makes you go, we've got to find a solution? Because a lot of people give up in these moments.
Absolutely.
And it's not just women you've helped, because I think I said to you as well, my husband has this skin condition that, it's incurable. But I just said to him one day, try mud. And I think then I said I'd reached out to you, he goes, well, tell her about my skin, because his skin feels amazing. And I can tell any time that he puts it on, because I'm like, you've got mud on. He's like, yeah. How can you tell him? I said, because your skin looks amazing. And he just said, round where he's got the moustache and, around the areas that would also become red and inflamed, he just doesn't have that issue now.
Yeah.
Because of the product. So is it really that, have your why and your reasoning of being of service be bigger than any problems that might come across your table?
Absolutely, because you're onto something. You're helping all of these people, and it's just unfortunate that you've landed in a hole, and you're like, okay, we need to. It's not a matter of like, what are we going to do here? It's like, we need to climb out of this hole. So what steps are we going to put in place to make sure that we can continue doing good things in the world? And we climbed out of it. We got out.
And so what's also the key, Imogen, because, you've been in a lot of leadership roles, but then collaborating or going into business with other people, what makes that work?
Oh, my goodness. 100% communication and integrity. And and like I was talking about before, the ability to get into other people's worlds, because when you have three very big personalities, 2 of us are Dutch and straight shooters, not everyone can handle that. Baljo is also Dutch. And so poor Courtney, she's dealing with, these two very direct personalities, a young country girl, never been in business before. And so the dynamic was real. And,
Yeah.
to navigate three different personalities, it was very hard. I have to say, first 2-3 years, there were a lot of head bashing moments and there was a lot of clashing. And but what always brought us back, and I think that's one thing that we're very clear on, are our values, and we all share the same values. And when you share the same values, you have the ability to take a step back and then go, guys, are we communicating through what we actually stand for? Is this fight really is it worth fighting for? When you think that love and love and empowerment and integrity are the values that I wrote my wedding vows on. And, that I still look at and my husband and I, we read our wedding vows to each other every single anniversary and go, are we still doing this? Are we still doing this?
I love that. So
Yeah.
for me, what I can hear too here, Courtney, is yes, it's your values, but values backed by intention.
Yeah.
Is what's really powerful. Because, people can have values and sort of carry them around and throw them around and have them up on the wall or whatever it is, but the intention to always come back to.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear that you're saying, that what I would term power questions, that let's turn that vision back inwards. Are we living in alignment with these values? Is this worth it? Is this getting us to where we want to be according to those values and those intentions?
And it is so powerful, Kay.
Yeah.
When you are really clear on your value system and what works for you, and sorry, what you believe in, it is really easy to make decisions then. And like even with customers, we have made deals with people before, and we could have just pulled out and gone, yeah, sorry, we actually we take it back, but we didn't, because we are people of integrity and we follow through on our word and we do what we say we're going to do. So you know what? We'll pay it and we'll fix you up because we said we were going to. We don't necessarily want to because we've got no cash in the bank, but we're doing it anyway.
Isn't that it? And from a small level to a larger level like that, one of the things that I teach and anything that I do too is also about, and live by is my word is my bond. And I love that you said, I don't want to sometimes, but you choose to.
Yeah.
Because things that I say for myself that I will commit to, everyone gets that moment of, God, I really just can't be bothered. And then I just go, my word is my bond.
My word is my bond.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I say to myself.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It is so empowering because I know that it will always come back to me. If I am a good person and if I follow through on my word, okay, nothing works without integrity. Nothing. In relationships, in business, nothing. And so if you don't have integrity, it will just crumble around you. And also, it's how you treat people and how you choose to treat people as well.
Yeah.
And that's we're all very, very big on that. And so you know what, that's what's kept us connected, and the multitude and mountains of conversations that we've had to navigate through. We now are an extremely tight-knit group of people.
It's a growth process, isn't it? Because I've got another business that I've got with 2 other people, and we started off as 5, and really learning about what true collaboration is.
Yeah.
And the button pushing or and as you talked about that level of communication and also understanding, it is a growth process. You go into business with people, any relationship is a growth process.
Yeah. And also just understanding that the people are not me, and not expecting them to, think that they had the upbringing that I did, and then moving out of, that does something to you. It shapes you as an individual. And like I was talking about before, is when you can get into someone else's world and truly be with them, and I know I've felt that with you as well. That is really powerful. And when people feel seen and heard, that is even more powerful. And you can navigate through any situation then. So that's something we have all, learned, and I have strengthened. And, no one's perfect. It's definitely been weak moments.
Perfectly imperfect and horribly human,
Yeah, we are.
There must have been times you wanted to give up, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do, Imogen, when you hit those brick walls and that moment of, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to do this anymore, it's a little bit too challenging right now, because it's not always challenging, but right now, in whatever moment, what do you do to pick yourself up and keep moving forwards to fulfilling that calling that you have to really make a difference?
No, I am really big on the people who I surround myself with. And I actually don't have anybody in my life who is, and I have had, but I choose not to let their negative energy get on me. It's, and I've got 5 people in my life from all different stages of my life. And I get on the phone, Kay. I'm a talker, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
But I get on the phone and I share authentically, and I say, look, this is where I'm at. And I need someone to help me see my blind spots, ask me questions, just through sharing and that back and forth. And I know that these are 5 people who I can always count on. And I'm one of those people for them as well when they are having those moments. But connection, human connection.
I call that, gathering the wisdom keepers. So don't go gathering your army. You go to those, and I love that you say it's about 5, because if people go, oh, I've got 10, 20 people. No, we don't really.
No.
It's that bullseye. And I know that the more I've gotten to know you, just how willing you are to be open and authentic and do what I always term, turn your vision back inwards. And I think that's what those wisdom keepers also do for us. They help us see the blind spots, but they're always saying, look back into self as well,
Yeah. Just remember who you are, and remember that, because I have had moments that I've gone like, I don't think I can do this anymore,
Yeah.
And when you have people in your life who they know you so through and through, and they've seen you, through the whole journey of your life, they're like, Imogen, are you kidding me? You moved to Amsterdam when you were 19 years old and then learned to speak the language fluently. Like, if you can do that, and then did a university degree as well, if you can do that, you can sure as hell do this. Come on.
Sometimes, I don't know about you, Imogen, but, sometimes in quiet moments, and I do this with my clients as well, it's like, go back through and say, when have you been in this place before? It may have felt smaller, but you were smaller back then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where have you had all these wins that overlay that story that I have, therefore I can, and I will.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's important to sort of look into those places and those spaces and be reminded sometimes of just how far we've come, and also to have those wisdom keepers that will remind us as well. So what's out the mud? Because you've been increasing, because you've got that beautiful, I call it the liquid gold. And I'll be honest, I had, as I'd matured, it's like the skin matures, and I couldn't find anything natural. I think natural skincare is coming a long way. So I ignored my knowing a little bit, with mud, until it's like it's screaming at me, try it, and did. Then something happened with the other skincare that I was using, and I went, you know what, I'm just going to stick with this. At the same time, you brought out then the cream as well, and I'm like, well, I'm getting that as well. And I've tried your cleanse, the powder, which is great. It does not taste like dirt. It's lovely. No, I've tried something else before. Going, God, I feel like I'm having a glass of dirt every morning. So what's the big vision for yourself, the company and the products?
Look, there's our demographic are women between the age of 40 and 55 who are trying to
Yeah.
not only navigate skin concerns and who are aging and wanting to keep that youthful glow, but
Yeah.
also women who are struggling through menopause and trying to navigate through that as well.
Yeah.
And I really believe that if you can, and like going back to what I was talking about before with the huge crisis with chronic illness that we have, if you have within your control to choose a natural product that actually works, that's not filled with chemicals and fillers, we just want to reach as many women that we possibly can. Okay.
Yeah.
And to get this out there, to do my part in the world, or our part in the world, to actually have people around us live long, healthy, and happy lives.
Yeah.
And we're bringing a couple of new products out. We've got an eye cream, a neck firming cream, a cleanser, all in development. They'll be launched this year.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of things happening. We're coming into more and more stores across Australia now, with mostly in chemists and high-end health food stores. We're in Flannery's, Go Vita. So we just want to, we know also that 48% of people still prefer to shop in store even after COVID. So it's 48% of people who we're not able to reach, and now we can because we're going to be in store. And
there's the women that like to get out and about and have a look at it, and that's why I call it liquid gold, because when it arrived and you package it beautifully, I'm just like, this is gorgeous. And I'm about to be 61, and I plan on staying on this liquid gold.
You look incredible.
The products that come out. And Mud has been helping. I was really nervous letting go of the skincare products that I was using. And thrilled because, yes, of course, I would much rather be on something that's natural or using something that's natural, but it's actually working. And I have to tell you, because you came to one of my workshops, and I'm always going to promote people, but predominantly women and in business that come from such integrity and have products that are amazing, because I think we should be singing each other's praises. And the next ceremony, full moon ceremony that I ran, the first 10, 15 minutes of it was tell the rest, I've bought the mud, some of them, and some of them like, I'm going to go buy it. And then everyone's like, so what else do you use, Kay, of their product? Or do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, okay.
Oh, how good.
It is good. It is. And everyone was so excited to receive it. And I think part of it is also getting a sense of who you are, because, it's not just the product. It's the people behind the product, because your energy gets put into, coming back to that shamanic perspective, your energy is part of that product, and your business partners and all of that energy is part of the beauty of what you're creating and the energy of what you're creating. So it just gets amplified,
Yeah.
So
and we love it. We love it.
What's one, if you could just leave the listeners with sort of one, you've left them with a lot of messages, really, and, lived examples of what belief in self does, and to find something that wants to push you past those really challenging times. But if there was one last gem that you would like to leave the listeners with, what would that be?
This is a one-liner that I live by, and it's so easy to answer this question, and that is to trade judgment for curiosity, because you can't be self-judgmental. You can't be judgmental to other people when you're asking yourself questions, when you're asking somebody else questions. And when you will receive the answers when you quieten that little voice in your head and put aside what you think, or whatever judgment that you may have about yourself that is creating self-doubt, or about somebody else that's creating disconnect in your relationship. Ask more questions. Trade judgment for curiosity. That's it.
That's
every day.
powerful. That is powerful. And then the question that I ask everybody at the end, Imogen, is this podcast is called Inner Voice of Knowing. Do you feel you have an inner voice of knowing? And if so, how has it served you? Or how does it serve you?
Yeah. The inner voice of knowing is just that absolute self-belief that I was talking about before. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your upbringing is like, what kind of trauma you have been through. You always have to listen to yourself and trust what is happening, but what's in your gut. If it feels right, it is right. If it doesn't feel right, it's not the right decision. It's not for you. Pivot. Always listen to yourself, and whatever you say, whatever it is trying to tell you, just believe in it and everything will unfold.
Thank you so much, Imogen, for being so generous with your time and sharing so much of your story, because I feel from the beginning of the story to the end paints the most beautiful picture of truly what is possible, and being your best cheerleader, backing yourself.
Yeah.
And wishing you every continued success moving forwards. And I'm going to love bearing witness to the growth that I know that not only you and your team are going to go through, but what the company's going to go through as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Join me on my next episode. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify. Rate and review. And please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.